Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Longhorn Origins, an original series by entrepreneurs at Austin where we focus on getting an insight perspective from the unsung heroes of our community. Whether that's from the small business realm, org officers, or just cool people doing cool things, we're all about it. And today is no exception at all, as we're bringing on a very special guest who's actually the VP at Rooted Grounds Coffee, and their company's mission is to provide coffee that's rooted in quality and community. They have offices and locations in several different states and are currently providing coffee at retail stores, college campuses, and even medical locations with their own unique coffee flavors and brands. You can find them over on the website rgcoffee.com, or you can look at Instagram and Facebook and find them at Rooted Grounds Coffee there. But hey, nevertheless, please welcome our very special guest, Mr. Chris Chari. Am I pronouncing your last name right?
Chari, absolutely.
Chari.
Yeah, it's perfect.
But hey, welcome to the podcast. Could you give us a brief introduction on who you are and what you represent, and we'll get things started.
Thank you so much, Rodney. So I actually joined Rooted Grounds Coffee Company in the very beginning. My business partners, David Knopf and Patsy Knopf, actually started the company. Patsy's our CEO, and David Knopf is our president. And I was the third one along, and I'm vice president. That was the third title left. And we started the business in 2015 with really a mission to bring great craft coffee to non-traditional craft coffee settings like universities, like hospitals, offices. We found for many, many years in our professional careers that really you had to go out to get a good cup of coffee at work or at school. And we thought that was a real a niche that we might be able to fill. And it's been an exciting journey.
Well, I have to say, I think it's been working well for you guys. 5 years in business and still rolling. I think that's going great, sir. Wait, I remember when I actually first met you guys over in the Jester West dorms. I was talking to David, and he was telling me that Rooted Grounds Coffee literally began in the garage of his house as a hobby, just like a side hobby. And I gotta ask you, was there a pivotal moment in you guys' career where you, David, or just anyone on the team knew that RGC could grow into something bigger, where you could serve more than just your immediate local community?
100%. And that's really sort of what happened. He's absolutely correct. David started the coffee business probably 16 years ago in his garage. And ironically, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, he hired my wife to somewhat be like a sales representative for him. And so the origins of this company began at his garage and then my garage. And then when I actually joined on full time, I left a very large scale beverage distribution business based in Dallas, Texas, actually. And so we distributed major wine and spirit brands from everywhere from Miller to Tito's Vodka to Skinny Girl Wine. So big national brands, big names, Red Bull, Fiji Water. And I saw in the beverage distribution business, really the key to growth was to have that distribution model, because I worked on that side of it. I worked on the distribution side, not the brand creation side. So when I joined David, he had a corporate background from Cintas, a very large company based in the Cincinnati market, but they're all over the world, uniforms, first aid, safety. So we both had corporate backgrounds with entrepreneurial spirits. And I think what has made that a great harmony, right? Because a lot of entrepreneurs have a beautiful idea, but they don't necessarily know how to take it to that next level. Mm-hmm. And the idea was completely David and Patsy's. It was not my idea at all. But what I knew was that beverages could be distributed through distribution partners. And so the pivotal moment really was when we were able to achieve kind of a couple of our first regional distribution partners in the Midwest. And they were had operations in different states, and they were able to take the coffee that we were making in Cincinnati and get it to where it needed to go. And we only had to have one delivery vehicle. Wow. And I would say the biggest change, and somewhat how it was a huge change. And now we're partners with U.S. Foods, like at the University of Texas. That's one of your food service providers, and Cisco, which are two of the largest, the two largest food service distribution companies in the world. They have trucks everywhere. And so, well, in the United States, at least, they have in the 48 continental United States. So we can pretty much get our coffee anywhere that we need to. And we have partners in about 3 other states. So we have capacity and distribution. And those were the two biggest things that changed in our business.
How did you guys go from the startup round to getting into conversation with these huge distribution chains?
Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. So here's what happened. We were selling a very small amount of SKUs to Miami University. And we had a very good fortune of meeting their food service director, the man in charge of all the food and beverage for the entire university. And at that time, it was they had over 20,000 students, so not as large as UT, but certainly a good sized university. And he no longer wanted our trucks to make deliveries, our one truck to make a delivery on campus, because it created a lot of difficulty in the sense they had to cut separate POs. They had to write checks to our company along with their other food service providers. And he said, why don't you just have your coffee delivered with our ketchup, our mustard, our mayonnaise, right, on the same trucks? And we really we're very familiar with US Foods, other than knew they were around. But he made a call, introduced us, and it just changed our business really forever, because we were now inside a large food service distribution partner with thousands of trucks and resources and warehouses. So we didn't have to have those things. So we could continue to focus on making great coffee and building relationships with awesome people like you, Rodney.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I would 100% say, like, I appreciate the community building aspect, because I think nowadays that brand is really just showing to your target audience that you actually care about them and you're not just in it for the money. And I think Rooted Grounds does a great job with that. Especially, I was looking through your biography too, and you guys had a huge impact over at the May Chambers of Commerce, right?
We did. We actually won the Regional Business of the Year, and we also won the Esprit de Corps Award. And that award was actually given to the company that gave the most back to the community. And I think, Rodney, in our brand, and you identified it early on, we're Rooted Grounds. We're rooted in quality, and we're rooted in community. A lot of people say that. We have to do it. And as you saw when you visited us at UT, we also work with people in origin to make sure that the coffee is being sourced properly, that the farmers are being treated properly, that the supply chain all the way through, that the environment, there's a lot of steps to being rooted in the community. And then what I think we've done a little differently than a lot of coffee companies is not just in origin, but we also participate in nonprofits and activities inside the communities that are buying our coffee. So I always say, if you're drinking a cup of Rooted Grounds coffee in Austin, Texas, you're helping people in the Austin community. Even though my company's headquarters in Cincinnati, the coffee we sell in this region, we give back to nonprofits in this area. And I'll give you a great example. Mm-hmm. Many universities and hospitals that we deal with have their own foundations. So we support the foundations. And then the foundations then can use however they want to use the proceeds. We give a percentage of our top line sales back to the foundation. We're a for-profit company. I mean, I don't want anybody to think we're not.
Yes, that's what entrepreneurship is about.
Absolutely. We are for-profit, but we believe that we can do good with some of our profits. And my eldest daughter is 20 years old, and she'll be 21 later this year. So very much in the contemporary of all of you nice folks we met at UT. She won't do business with companies that she doesn't trust. She won't do business with companies that she views as slimy or trying to get away with something. She wants to know that the products and services she's purchasing are from ethically sourced places, that the people running those companies care. And so we really, it's at the very core of who Rooted Grounds is. It's the fabric of us as being rooted in the communities that we serve.
Mm-hmm. So you guys pretty much show that you're all about us with showing, hey, all proceeds, or not all the proceeds, but a percent of it go back to the community that you're serving there, and then you make sure that the quality of it is authentic and real, and not just some cheap, high margin product. It's a legitimate thing.
Well, and there's in entrepreneurship, and I'll share this with your listeners. There's always the chase to the bottom, where somebody will say, "Look, I can do it cheaper. I can source from somewhere else." And the reality is, when you start doing that, then you're running to the bottom. We've never.
Yeah, where do you draw the line?
We never want to do that. There'll always be somebody cheaper than Rooted Grounds coffee. I will say to all your listeners, we will never be the cheapest. I won't be the most expensive. We want to create real value. And being cheap doesn't necessarily create real value. People don't buy a Tesla because it's cheap. They buy a Tesla because
Tesla.
It's great for the environment. There's all the innovation, technology. You want a cheaper car, there's a lot cheaper cars out there. So we just believe in our world that to try to win against some of the much larger competitors we have on price, we would never be able to do that because they have much larger buying capacity than we do. So we try to create value for our partners. I don't really view our customers as much as customers as I do partners, where we work together hand in hand to enhance the experience of whether it's students, faculty. If you think about UT as a great example, Every single person on that campus, from the person who is working in environmental services, cleaning the bathrooms, to the most senior professor who's been published in all the great publications, they all can enjoy the same cup of Rooted Grounds coffee. And that's what I love. It's a unifier. It's not a divider. You can be from any country, any walk of life, any background experience. Just have a cup of coffee with somebody. You'd be amazed how much you might learn about them, you know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's all about reaching out and saying hello to people.
It's all about the community.
So drawing, more specifically, when you were like transitioning from like the startup realm to like the full-fledged business model you guys have today, what would you say is like the toughest obstacle you guys face when trying to provide value to us like consumers, or as you say, partners?
And that's a great question. I think always there's a lot of trial and error when you're doing something new. We've actually entered into a space that there wasn't a roadmap for. There wasn't a playbook already about how do you take craft coffee into commercial setting. It really had never been done. And so I guess I would say that the biggest pivotal moment is when we realized we weren't afraid to fail.
Yes, dude,
And what I mean
love
by that is, right? So not fail as in the business closes up, but we took calculated risks. We went after some markets. We went after some business that we thought was a slam dunk. We were going to get it, and we didn't. But what we did was we pivoted. We didn't drown or double down in what wasn't working. We said, okay, that's not working. Let's pull back a minute and let's see what different direction we could go in. And I think COVID was probably a great example of this, because even though we had been in business for 4.5 years at the time when COVID hit, we lost 80% of our business almost overnight. And here's what happened. We took care of offices. Everybody was working from home. We took care of universities. Everybody was Zooming in and doing their classes online, right? So there was nobody going to the dining halls drinking coffee, right?
Right.
But the 20% of our business that was still strong was healthcare. So throughout the pandemic, we doubled down in healthcare. We put masks on, we put gloves on, we got on the road. We probably added close to 50 hospitals in the past year and a half to our portfolio. And that was all done because of the willingness to say, look, we're not going to give up. Maybe it feels like we aren't going in the right direction here, but we're willing to take those calculated risks, and it's benefited us quite a lot. We went into nursing homes, long-term care facilities, and hospitals because those places never stopped drinking coffee during the pandemic.
Wow. So, I gotta say, I love the whole entrepreneurship spirit. That's what I love about entrepreneurship myself. It's not like with school where, they give us a textbook to say, all right, you do this, this, and that, and you'll succeed. No, with entrepreneurship, it's more like a trial by fire thing. And I respect the fact that once you guys realize, like, hey, this isn't working out. COVID threw us a wrench, but we've got this healthcare thing going on, and let's double down, keep going. I love that you guys persisted and persevered through that. That's all what being an entrepreneur is about.
Thank you for that feedback. I'll have to tell you, it made me smile when you asked if we were when we started in our garages. David and I looked at each other when the pandemic started. We said, well, we still have our garages. I mean, we were never going to be out of business. You know what I mean? We were, no matter what, we still owned the garages, right?
Yes,
so we didn't have to go back, thankfully. But I think the willingness to not be afraid to fail, and also to burn the bridge to the easy way out. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they say, hey, it's not working out, I'll just go back to my corporate job, or I'll just go back and do what I always knew how to do. For David and I, there was no going back. It was just, when we started this, and Patsy as well, it was just full steam ahead. And there is no, I always say, burn the bridge to that old possibility, because it's over. You're doing new things now. And that's a mindset that you have to have.
All right, you got to give yourself that pressure. You got to give yourself that pressure to perform.
Yeah, there's no safety net. Right.
Yes, sir.
So those are good questions. Very good questions.
I want to ask you, like, maybe just one more thing. So for the listeners at home who are like a little bit confused on like what it means to be an entrepreneur, because I know like nowadays over on social media, YouTube, like it's kind of murky what it means to be an entrepreneur, and there's a lot of like, I call them posers, who just say, oh, it's easy out here, what are you doing, just buy my course and you'll be a millionaire. Could you like tell the listeners at home like what it means to be an entrepreneur and how like you pursued that? Like, it's not an easy thing, but
it's not. It's a great question, Rodney. There is no get rich overnight. You win the lottery maybe, but that any successful entrepreneur, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears getting into that. That's the truth. There's a lot of sleepless nights, but there's also a lot of unbelievable joy. And the joy isn't always from the sale. It sometimes comes from the pure fact that you're moving it forward, that you're accomplishing something that you set out to. There's a satisfaction that no matter how many dollars are in the bank account, that you'll never. Dollars are nice. Don't get me wrong. It's important.
Yeah.
It's a very important, right? But us being able to innovate, being able to create new things, being able to support nonprofits, helping those in our community. We supported a cause called Fernside here in Cincinnati, Ohio during COVID, and it's an organization that helps grieving children who have lost their parents. And we created a special Fernside blend coffee. It's our top seller on Amazon right now, and it's a blend of coffee. We donate all the proceeds from it back to help these children. And I got to tell you, that has nothing to do with a sale. But
yeah, that just makes you feel good, man.
Sure is satisfying to know that we were a part of that we were able to create something to help those kids. So that's, I guess, being an entrepreneur. There's tough nights, there's early mornings, there's flights to Kansas on the way to wherever you're going. And that's just, quite honestly, a true entrepreneur, I think, relishes in all of that, because it's the whole experience. You can't have the upside without the challenges. You have to have it all. And I do think that's very different. I worked in corporate for many years, and I had a very narrow role inside my corporation. I was a sales manager. I didn't deal with accounting. I didn't deal with financial forecasts. I didn't deal with supply chain. We do it all now. I mean, and as we have people in our organization to help us, but as an entrepreneur, you have to be versed in multiple areas in business, not just maybe what your background or your specialty.
Yes,
very
sir.
important to know a lot about a lot of areas. So it takes a lot of work, but it's rewarding.
Man, thank you so much for that answer. I agree so much. Like entrepreneurship, I'm still trying to figure out what it means to be an entrepreneur myself. Just the essence of like putting action to your ideas and figuring it out along the way. That's what I think entrepreneurship is all about. And hey, I thank you so much for taking the time out of your really busy schedule to hop onto this podcast. And I say this was a great conversation, man, and definitely the start of a great relationship to build.
It was amazing, Ronnie. May I close with one thing? For
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Close.
Very important. I say this: do what you have a passion for. It'll never be a job if you're passionate about it. I wake up every morning and I don't go to work. I go do my life's passion. And whatever that is, it's never going to be two $29 payments to some guy on an 800 number. That's never going to be your passion. If you go into entrepreneurship just to get rich quick or to make money, that's not it. Go do something that you believe in, that you feel passionate about, help other people achieve the things that they want to achieve, and you'll have everything that you want to achieve in life. That's a famous quote from Zig Ziglar, not my own, but help enough people get what they want, love everything you want in life. So that's true story. Follow your dreams.
Yes, sir. Follow our dreams. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I think that's good for this conversation. And I wish you guys the best of luck with Rooted Grounds.
I'm impressed with you, Rodney. Keep up with what you're doing, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank
All
you.
right, have a good one, man.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.